Coach David Culley joining us right now on Texans Radio. And Coach, how was it coaching the OTA section of the offseason, all these practices you had recently?
It was so good, Marc, to get out, to finally get on the field and see our guys, to be able to see what they're all about, let them see what we were all about. And, you know, the first time I got on that grass, I got so excited. I felt the same way when I first went out there to practice as when Cal named me the head coach of the Houston Texans. That was all over again, because in the first time it was like, okay, now here I am actually really coaching the Houston Texans, and it felt good.
Coach, with no pads on, and we get asked this question a lot, so I'll ask you your thoughts. With no pads on, because those are the rules, what are you able to get out of an OTA session, out of an off-season like you've had? What's the main thing you're looking to get out of that time period when you can't hit or be physical or do things like that?
With us, John, because we're new and it's been the first time we getting everybody together, just incorporating our system, incorporating our culture, letting them see what we're all about, how we're going to go about doing things. I think that is very, very important, and them understanding how they're going to be coached. And basically that's what you get out of that. You're exactly right. Now, I've never made a decision on whether a player can or cannot play without shoulder pads on, because that's football. But what you can do is you can kind of get them to running around out there. You can teach some fundamentals. And then basically once you get into training camp, which is the beauty of training camp, is that now you get to put that into effect and kind of really now see what things are all about, you know? So that's the most important thing.
Coach, you've been such a technician coaching in your life and getting very specific. What's it like to oversee the whole thing? And where did you find yourself spending time? Did you spread it out evenly, or were there certain areas where you might spend more time than others?
Marc, I was all over the place. And I'm gonna tell you, the reason I was all over the place is that because this is an excellent coaching staff. This staff has been around and know what it takes and knows what it's all about. I've worked with some of these guys before. Some I haven't worked with, but I've coached against them. And just getting around for me to see how they go about doing things and how they do their teaching. And it was basically a learning experience for me, because I found myself a couple of times in practice, like you said, I was all over the place. Then all of a sudden I've been every place. Now I'm saying, now where do I go? What do I do? So all I did was kept going back and forth, going around. I ended up going around too and just talking to some people on the practice field, whether they were our trainers, whether they were our equipment people, just kind of, just filling things out and just seeing, and actually asking them questions. What do you think? How's things going? How's that? And then especially during the individual periods when the coaches are actually doing all their individual coaching. But I tell you what, though, there's two things that really just resonated with me as a head coach here, and I couldn't get this in the same day. Is when we start practice on offense, they do a little a bag drill where everybody but the offensive lineman, and John, you've seen this, where everybody but the offensive lineman, they go through a ball security drill. And everybody that touches a ball, get to do this drill. And then on defense, everybody on the defense goes down there, and Tim does the ball security thing with all the offensive coaches. Lovey and his coaches do what they hit the sled. And I'm gonna tell you something. I first started offense. Obviously, I started with the offense first, not because I'm an offensive guy, but I started that first simply because they were the drill that was closest to me. So I said, I'm going to watch this drill. So I watched that drill, ball security. Let me tell you something. Ball security is very important in this league. You protect the ball, you protect your team. And not only that, we always tell them, not only you protect the ball, if you protect the ball, you protect your place on this football team. So that's how important that is. And then, so I watched that drill. I love watching that drill, and we start practice with that. The next day, I went down to the defense, and they were hitting that sled. And let me tell you something. That has become one of my favorite things to do, is when we start practice with our defense, with that whole defense hitting that sled. You talking about adrenaline going now, to see the defensive backs, to see the linebackers, the linemen, everybody hitting that sled. It just fired me up. And John, going back to what you mentioned earlier about, and Marc, about no pads, let me tell you something. You don't have to have pads to hit that sled. Now,
Yep.
they were doing a great job of that, and I get so excited. I actually come out of that drill sometimes tired just from running my mouth and just talking to those guys about how excited I am about them hitting that sled. But that's I've learned that basically I'm the head coach. We've got coaches here that run the offense, run the defense, run the special teams. And speaking of our special teams, when our special team spirit starts in the middle of the practice, oh my gosh, everybody on our football team is involved in that in some point, even our quarterbacks. So to see those drills, and for me, it has been a great experience for me being able to see the big picture. I never got to see the defensive guys do that before. I've never saw the entire special teams, because when the special teams was going on, I'd take whatever guys that weren't on special teams and we'd start doing the individual drills. So it's been exciting. And I tell you what, because of that, being a head coach, that's a pretty good gig, being able to see everybody do those things in practice now.
How much do you have to fight it though, coach, to allow those coaches to coach and not jump in immediately, maybe like you want to? I mean, you're the head coach, you can do it. But like you said, you've got a bunch of coaches on staff that are really good teachers. How much do you have to fight that urge to not jump in and not be the guy that, because you've been that guy in the past, just running the drills, teaching the receivers the routes, all that. You've been that guy. How much do you fight that to not jump in front of your position coaches, if you will?
John, that is a great question. And I'm going to tell you something about that for both of you here. I said to myself, I said, if I ever became a head coach, I says, man, I hope that if obviously I've been on offense my whole career. I says, I hope that I don't start going over there in the receiver drills or quarterback drills and all those drills and start getting flashbacks of what I used to do or how I used to do it. And I made a promise to myself, and I'd be lying. And if I told you that hasn't happened, it has happened. And as soon as it happened, I caught myself and I went away right away, because I sat here and you said, I made a promise to myself not to do that. And again, it has happened, but I have to catch myself now. And that's why, again, I got to remember, you're the head coach. And here's the other thing. You hired those guys to coach and teach their way, not my way. We all have a way here, and it's the Texan way. And we all know that we do things a certain way, but you teach it how you know how to teach it. And so I found myself now getting much, much better. And listen, the OTAs have been a good lesson for David Culley, the head coach, from that standpoint. Now, I've learned something through doing that. So I think that'll help me going into training camp and doing the same thing.
Coach, the three quarterbacks you had in these offseason practices with Taylor, Mills, and Driscoll, they're all at varied points in their career. Obviously, Tyrod is 11th year, Mills a rookie, and Driscoll in between. How do you feel they picked up what you're trying to teach them on the offensive side of the ball?
Tim and the offensive staff has done a great job with that. And having 11-year veteran in here like Tyrod Taylor has been a blessing for Jeff and Davis. I mean, it's been a blessing because, as I've mentioned before in a couple of interviews that I've done, Tyrod Taylor's a pro's pro. I mean, he knows how it's supposed to be done. He knows what it looks like. And it's been good having him here. And you know what? He's been great at giving information and being a great teammate. And that's the kind of people that Nick has brought in here, from a free agency standpoint, that understand that. And that's winning culture. And basically that's going to carry over later on with the young guys. And it serves our team well to see a veteran like that carry himself that way and give that information and do the things that he does to help us get better.
Coach, I know through the years you've seen rookies go from rookie minicamp to OTAs, and I'm sure there have been some that have been successful, some that have struggled, and that's carried over to training camp. How do you feel like your rookies got indoctrinated into the way you wanted to do things, going from rookie minicamp on into OTAs and then getting ready for training camp?
Well, John, the first thing about that is our rookies had about 2 practices before we started our OTAs. And
right.
When they were out there, it was kind of like, they really don't know what they don't know, but they are giving great effort. They're doing things exactly like we want them to do it. and basically at the speed that they know. Remember, this is just rookies. All right. So then we move farther into once the OTA started and the veterans came in, and all of a sudden the speed of the game went up a little bit with those guys. And it was like, oh, this is what it's all about. And what ends up happening with that, you talk about that learning curve and people learning, is that when things go fast like they do in this league, and our rookies right now, even in our preseason and training camp, won't see the speed of the game until the first game. That's when you really see what it's all about. And once that happens, you realize that I got a long way to go. And that basically what that does, that, John, you know this, that brings you right back down to earth in a hurry. Then you realize that I got a long way to go. And I've seen guys that have picked that up fast, and I've seen guys that have just taken a little bit more time to be able to pick that up. But listen, we'll let them do that at their pace. And when they're ready, they're ready. And if they're not ready, we'll keep trying to get them ready.
Coach, as far as what goes in the install on both sides of the ball, what you're going to be running, how much were you able to get done during these off-season practices versus what you're going to put in training camp? Can you hit the ground running in training camp? And, how much install takes place during that time of year?
Well, basically what you want to do is put in your base stuff that you're going to do. And we were able to do that. That's why these 4 weeks was very important for us. And once those into that fourth week, we felt like Tim, Frank, and Lovey, all three of the coordinators, felt like that we were exactly where we needed to be at this point as far as our installation. So when we come back in training camp, we'll start over again, start from square one, and move on and just move right on into our preseason games ready to roll.
Coach, you mentioned the preseason games, kind of stealing my thunder a little bit. I will obviously have a better basis of comparison once they're done versus last year. But you've had preseason games your entire career up until last year. What was lost for players last year in those preseason games? And what will the young guys and guys competing for roster spots be able to do in those preseason games, even though it's just 3 instead of 4? What are they able to gain by having those preseason games in 2021?
As a rookie, I found out last year, no preseason games. The rookies that I thought was ready, weren't quite as ready simply because the speed of the game just hit them like that. I saw some rookies that were a little more hesitant than you expected because of not having those preseason games. And that's why right now, having the 3 preseason games, that is invaluable for new players, or especially rookies, to get out on the field. There's no replacement for actually playing. There's no replacement for actually putting in your system and putting it in against an opponent and executing what you do. You have to do that. And to me, last year, I felt like too, when I was where I was at before, the one thing that I felt like not having any preseason games was I felt like we didn't really start the season as well as you would have been, as sharp as you normally would be because of not having those preseason games. I didn't feel like that as in the passing game is more so critical than in the run game, and timing, not being able to get that just through training camp. And having the preseason games now, you actually get to go out and execute those kinds of things and get a sense of timing and whatnot. And so I think now it will help our rookies and obviously our new guys that are on this team right now with the camaraderie, learning each other, being able to see how play off of each other. And you only get that playing the game. And those 3 preseason games are important for that.
Along those lines, Coach, everyone wants to know who's starting. I get that. But how do you handle that in camp? A lot of mixing and matching in the early going, because at some point you have to get ready for the Jaguars and get your lineup together, right?
Mark, I'm going to go back. Once you put the pads on, John, you know this, that takes care of itself. Mark, it takes care of itself. I mean, we go through our practices. We give everybody an opportunity, and then we come back, we evaluate. That's why you practice. And when you practice, you come back in and you look at the video and you say, yes, he's not ready. Yes, he's ready. No, he's not ready. And that's what preseason is for. And again, once you put the pads on, I've really never had a problem being able to find out if I'm putting the right guy on the field, as long as I'm able to put him on the field and let him go out there and execute and do things. in the end and give him enough reps to be able to do that, you find out. I mean, and again, that's why not just the training camp, but those preseason games kind of clears up things for you. Once you put them on the field and give them enough reps, you can make a decision. As a matter of fact, John and Mark, they make the decision for you. They make that decision for you.
I like Coach, those preseason games, we hit on them from a player standpoint, but also from your standpoint, the operation on the sidelines, people, coaches talking down on headphones, throwing a challenge flag, all those different things that have the opportunity to do as a head coach. How important are those preseason games? Like, I know every game is important. I understand that. But just for you personally, making sure that the coaching operation on the sideline is where you want it to be going into the regular season, how important are they for you to get through those 3 games of 60 minutes each to kind of get a feel for everything before going to week 1 against Jacksonville?
Well, we say preseason game. As a coach and as a player, when they're keeping score, the game means something.
Right.
All right. So when you go out there to play the game, we treat every game like it's a real game in preseason. Right. And you just mentioned a couple of points about our operation from the press box to the sideline, operation from me making decisions, our substitutions, going in at halftime, making adjustments. All of those things are critical. And then with us being a new staff, new coaches, new players, those 3 weeks are invaluable from that standpoint. And we learn a lot about each other during that time. So that's why that's critical. It's very important.
Coach, one more here. How do you spend the next few weeks? I know you probably take a little time off, and how do you want everybody to spend this time? Because you got to recharge the batteries, but you don't want to unplug completely, or do you? How do you handle that?
You got to unplug. Unplug. That's why we had 4 good weeks here. And I'm talking about we went at it. And we threw a bunch at them. And then now at that point, what we want to do is, you want to go recharge. You want to go still do your strength and conditioning. You want to go still do your fundamental work, but you want to do that on your time, when with your family, when you're there. And then when we come back, you're ready to go, knowing exactly, after going through those 4 weeks that we went through here, you know exactly what to expect. They know exactly what we're expected of them. And then when they get back, they will be completely recharged. And as far as myself, Mark, let me tell you now, hey, listen, I loved having them here for those 4 weeks. I couldn't wait for them to get out of here after I had them for 4 weeks. Okay. I had just about all I needed of them right then to see what I needed to see, simply because when they come back in July, the end of July, to start the training camp again, boy, will we be ready for them.
Yep. All right, Coach. Well, thanks so much for the time. Have a great couple of weeks off, whatever the length of time is, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Hey, Mark, I'm off, but we're never off. You know how that is, John.
Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate both of you. You guys have a good
Thanks,
you have a good few weeks yourself. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.